Newly discovered financial documents have revealed that the Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, apparently hid business ties to members of Russian President Vladimir Putin's inner circle during his Senate confirmation process. Now, this sort of failure to disclose information was very common for a number of people during that process. There's something about going before the Senate that just flusters you and you forget about these businesses you own and meetings you had with ambassadors. Weird how that works out. But let's talk about these documents. The details of Ross's financial holdings were revealed in a trove of more than 7 million internal documents of Appleby, a Bermuda-based law firm that was leaked to a German newspaper that I am not going to attempt to pronounce. Some of those documents were then provided to NBC News by ICIJ, an organization that calls them the Paradise Papers, obviously a reference to the Panama Papers. Those were then analyzed and these connections were found. Well, let's break down what those are. Ross's investment firm has a 31.5% stake in Navigator, a British company that charters ships to help energy companies move their materials around the world. One of Navigator's top clients is the Russian energy giant Cyber, whose owners include Gennady Timchenko, Putin's friend and judo partner, who is sanctioned by the United States, and Putin's son-in-law as well. Okay, so he has an investment firm. It has a 31% stake in this company, and they do dealings with the sons and martial arts partners of Vladimir Putin. Okay, so that's the connection, I guess. Well, let's talk a little bit more about this. According to Navigator's SEC filings from this year, Cyber wasn't just a client of them, it was one of their top 5 clients. Back in 2016, that company alone brought them $23.2 million and $28.7 million thus far this year. Now, he has responded to these allegations, saying that claims that he didn't properly disclose the ties were, quote, totally incorrect, and called the media's reporting of it, quote, just an example of the press trying to find anything they can, however remote or silly, to attack the president and somehow link him to Russia. He went on to say that it was disclosed on the Form 278, which is the financial disclosure form, in my case, 3 times, which, if it was true, would be strong evidence in support of what he said. However, he did not disclose those things on the document. He is simply lying to you.
Yeah, this is extraordinary because here's a guy who's in charge of implementing the Russian sanctions, for example, right? And he has this strong relationship financial relationship that he continues to maintain, despite the fact that he knows he's going to have to be dealing with Russia in no small capacity in relation to these sanctions. This is just, if it were just the only thing going on in this administration, it would be extraordinary, but it's unethical. I don't know that it's illegal yet. I guess that's going to be explored. But the lack of ethics in this administration—
Blumenthal wants to look into it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, there just seem to be no ethical underpinnings. This is extraordinary. I mean, absolutely extraordinary. If you were a reporter on CNBC or something, one of the financial news network, you have to divest yourself of all stocks and equities, and I think maybe they make you put them in a blind trust. But yeah, because you're reporting on stuff that will affect the markets, right? So we demand more of journalists who are reporting on business than we do of our leaders in Capitol Hill. I mean, it's insanity.
That's a great point. We demand more of those people, most of whom are just fake news, but we still expect them to live up to a higher standard.
We've talked about the last thing I was going to say. We've talked about the conflicts of interest that run ripe over this administration, from the president Donald Trump all the way down through his cabinet, et cetera, and through Jared and through Ivanka and all the rest. So this is this is just one more plank in this ridiculous boardwalk of trouble that they, at least ethically, that they've laid out.
Yeah, no, exactly. And forget Russia, forget that this might have any connection to the campaign, forget all of that. It's a financial conflict of interest that he decided the Senate didn't need to know about. And I remember back when we were covering all of these Senate confirmation hearings, and we covered them super in depth, so much so that lots of people got bored, and I understand why. But the reason we were doing it is because we knew that there was gonna be so much shady, corrupt shit, that they were going to try to make as much money for themselves, that Trump was going to install people that would allow him to loot the US Treasury. And it keeps coming up that people forgot all sorts of stuff. I mean, he forgets this connection that might have made him millions of dollars. Jared forgets multiple companies he owns when he's talking to these groups. It's amazing how their minds just, they just shut off, they just blank out for just a second. So even if you don't care about the Russia stuff, I mean, this is the Commerce Secretary, a man who has direct ability to shape policy and implementation of policy in a way that both benefits him and potentially benefits or hurts US corporations and individuals. I mean, this is the sort of corruption that we knew would come with Trump, but they're so brazen with it, and we need to do something. We need to take this guy out, just like happened to Price.
Yeah, that's the thing. All the corruption in Washington usually is in the back door. This is right in the front door. And the fact that he would accept this one thing, like that he would leave out this one thing, I think speaks volumes. By the way,
sorry, I'm a child.
The amount of, what's that? What?
Never mind. That is a very good point. They're just incompetent. Like they're really bad at being corrupt. And Trump's been doing it for decades and he still sucks at it.
Well, here's the reason, I think, or one reason. I'd love to hear what other people have to say, but the fact is these are super rich guys. I mean, Wilbur is, I mean, he's a
billionaire.
And billionaires are used to doing what they want. Yeah. And so I think these guys are not used to having to sort of play between the lines. They've never had to play between the lines before.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like, I know that the Senate is gonna wanna look into this. They wanna talk to Sessions some more and all of that, but I mean, I feel like with enough examples like this, it's time to institute a Senate. We need like extreme vetting for all of the people that made it through the Senate already. Let's go back through, make sure that everything's been mentioned. Oh, here's a $500 million loan I forgot about initially. Just let's get it all out in the open.
If you like this video, you probably like independent media. The best way to support independent media, become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.